I haven't spoken to my mother in over a decade, but last night she showed up at my door holding something that could destroy my marriage. I thought I buried this secret forever, until now. Welcome to Reddit Toxic Family Telltales channel. New episode every day. When my daughter Mildred turned 18, she handed me a gift. Not a necklace. Not a graduation photo. No, it was a pregnancy test with two bright pink lines staring back at me. I let out a long sigh. Mildred had always been reckless, the type to leap before she looked, and now here she was, tossing a life-changing decision in our laps. Before I could even get a word out, she barked, and I'm not getting rid of it. So y'all better step up. And by y'all, she didn't mean her. She meant me and my husband. To her, step up wasn't about support or guidance. It meant, congratulations, you're the new parents of my baby because I don't want to deal with it. You'd think I'd be furious. But here's the truth, me and my husband had always dreamed of having more kids. We adored babies. So after a stunned glance at each other, we agreed. We didn't know what kind of storm was waiting down the line, but at that moment we thought we were saving a child. Mildred wasted no time. Practically shoved papers at us, made sure she signed away her parental rights, almost like she was protecting herself from being asked for money someday. As if she had a dime to her name. And that's how Philip came into our lives. He was everything. Sweet, curious, polite. The kind of kid who never forgot to say please, who always asked my husband if he could help with the numbers. My husband's an accountant, so of course the answer was no, but the fact that Philip wanted to help melted our hearts every single time. But as Philip grew, so did his questions. By 10, he started asking about his real mom. Every Mother's Day he made 2 cards, one for me, one for her. He kept a shoebox under his bed stuffed with envelopes labeled to Mommy. When he was 11, he reached out 12 different times, begging Mildred to meet him. 12 times. She shut him down each and every one. By the 13th, he finally gave up. I'll never forget the look in his eyes when he stopped asking. It was like he slammed a door in his own heart. From then on, he poured himself into life with us, and I promised I'd give him everything she had thrown away. We drained our savings to send him to college so he wouldn't have to juggle classes and part-time jobs. We made sure he had vacations, experiences, memories, things we'd never had growing up. And by the time he hit his 20s, it seemed like Mildred was nothing more than a distant shadow. Philip thrived. Dropped out of college to start a car detailing business with friends, and it took off. His marketing skills were so sharp, clients were practically lining up. Every month he insisted on giving us 15% of his earnings as repayment. I hated it, because raising him wasn't a debt. It was the greatest gift of my life. But that was just who he was. Always grateful. At 23, he met Amber. Sweetest girl you could imagine. For a while it felt like our family was finally sealed, whole, untouchable. Until Thanksgiving dinner. We were all at the table, laughter filling the room when his phone buzzed. He set it on speaker, smiling like it was another happy client. But the moment I heard that voice, my stomach dropped. Mildred. After 25 years of silence, there she was, chirping fake sweetness. Hi honey, how are you? Philip's answers were clipped, short, cold. He didn't know her warmth anymore, and it showed. She asked to meet at a restaurant. He hesitated, eyebrows furrowing. I leaned forward and whispered, me and your dad can come with you if you want. His face lit up. That would be amazing. And just like that, we were dragged into Mildred's theater again. We sat down at the fanciest place in town. She didn't hug him. Didn't even say she was glad to see him. No. The very first words out of her mouth? So, what's the budget for tonight? Philip shrugged, said, whatever, and she wasted no time ordering lobster ravioli and a whole bottle of white wine. Then her eyes landed on Philip's phone lock screen. A photo of Amber. She leaned in, voice dripping with fake sugar. Oh, is that your girlfriend? She's gorgeous. Reminds me of me and my ex-husband back when we were cute. I asked what happened, and without a blink she said, oh, I cheated on him. Like it was nothing. Philip rolled his eyes. Stuff happens. But she wasn't done. Anyway, I'm struggling to find work right now. Do you think you could help me out? Philip, being who he is, said, I mean, I guess. Her smile widened, sharp as glass. Perfect. I'll need about $14,000 to secure an apartment. I'll send you my bank details, make sure it's in by the weekend. My heart nearly exploded. 14,000? From the son she abandoned? I opened my mouth, ready to rip her to shreds right there in the restaurant. But under the table I felt a sharp pinch on my hand. Philip. He shook his head, eyes calm, lips pressed in a thin smile. He wasn't angry. He wasn't rattled. He was waiting. And in that moment I realized something. My sweet, gentle boy wasn't powerless anymore. He had an ace up his sleeve. And Mildred? She was finally about to face the storm she had created. When we got home that night I couldn't stop pacing the kitchen. My hands were shaking, my chest tight. Larry tried to calm me down with a cup of tea, but my fury wasn't letting go. At the counter, Philip sat casually scrolling through his phone, cool as ice, like dinner with Mildred hadn't even happened. I just don't get it, I snapped, finally stopping in my tracks. That woman abandoned you, ignored you for decades, and now she waltzes back demanding money like it's nothing? And you just sit there? Philip lifted his eyes, calm, steady, with that strange little smile tugging at his lips. Mom, trust me. I've got this handled. I threw my arms up. What does that even mean? That's when he tilted his phone toward me. His banking app was open, showing a pending transfer. The amount? $14. I blinked. $14? He smirked. She asked for money. Didn't say how much in the texts. $14 ought to cover lunch, right? Larry burst into laughter so loud the spoon in his teacup rattled. The tension in my shoulders broke and I found myself laughing too. My boy wasn't a pushover after all. "You're something else, kid," Larry said, clapping Philip on the back. But by the next morning the games had begun. While I was flipping pancakes, Philip's phone buzzed non-stop on the counter. He was still asleep, but the screen kept lighting up. I tried to ignore it, but the messages popped up one after another. "Where's the rest of it? This isn't funny. I need that money by tomorrow." My heart sank. I shook Philip awake and showed him the screen. He barely glanced at it before chuckling, typing back one quick line, "Sorry, budget's tight this month. Hope the $14 helps." Then he hopped in the shower like it was no big deal. But by noon the calls started. By evening 17 missed calls from Mildred sat in his voicemail. He finally put the phone on speaker so we could all hear. Each message grew uglier, her voice shrill, furious, desperate. "You think this is a joke?" she screamed in the last one. "I'll show you what happens when you mess with me." My stomach twisted. "Philip, that sounds like a threat. Maybe we should call the police." He shook his head. "She's all talk, Mom. Always has been." But deep down I wasn't so sure. I knew Mildred's temper. And I knew how vindictive she could be when cornered. 3 days passed with silence and I let myself breathe again. Philip was back at the shop, business booming, life settling. Until I got that call. "Mom," Philip's voice cracked through the phone, sharp with urgency. "She's here. At the shop. Making a scene." I grabbed my keys so fast I nearly dropped them. Larry and I sped over and before we even stepped inside I heard her. Mildred's voice carried through the parking lot, piercing, hysterical. Inside, customers froze mid-step, eyes wide. Mildred stood in the middle of the reception, hair wild, screaming at my son. "You owe me. I gave birth to you. The least you can do is help your mother out." Philip stood firm, hands raised slightly, calm as a stone. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're disrupting my business." "Ma'am? I'm your mother. You ungrateful little." I surged forward but Larry caught my arm. "Let him handle it," he murmured. And handle it he did. Philip stepped closer, voice quiet, razor sharp. "You need to leave now or I'll call the police." Mildred sneered. "Go ahead. I'll tell them how you promised me money and went back on your word." I noticed Ralph, his assistant, quietly picking up the phone. My heart swelled with pride. Philip didn't flinch. He gently guided her toward the door, saying, "I never promised you 14,000. I said I'd help. And I did, within my means. Now leave before you embarrass yourself any further." But then out came her phone. She shoved it in his face. "See this? I've been recording this whole time. And I've got the texts where you agreed to help. I'll post this online. The world will see what kind of son abandons his own mother." And just like that she stormed out, nearly toppling a display of air fresheners on her way. The damage, however, was already done. 3 customers canceled on the spot. The rest left uneasy. Philip spent the next hour apologizing, offering discounts, trying to repair the trust she'd shattered in minutes. But I saw the worry in his eyes, the tightness in his jaw. That night we huddled at the kitchen table, strategizing when his phone dinged. A link from Amber. Mildred had wasted no time, she'd posted the video on Facebook. Edited, cropped, twisted. The caption painted her as the poor, abandoned mother begging her cold-hearted son for help while he callously refused. The comments? Brutal. Strangers calling Philip heartless. Some swore they'd never use his services again. Others threatened to tank his reviews. "This is slander," Larry roared, slamming his fist on the table. "We'll sue her." Philip shook his head, calm again. "No. That'll just make it drag on longer. I've got a better idea." The very next day he sat in his office, camera rolling. His voice was steady, his eyes direct. He told the truth. How Mildred had signed him away at birth. How she'd rejected his every attempt to know her. How she popped back up after 25 years only to demand money. He even showed the screenshots, the texts, the $14 transfer. "I don't hold grudges," he said at the end, softly. "I wish her well. But I won't be manipulated or bullied. And I won't let lies destroy what I've built." The internet lit up. Support flooded in. Customers shared glowing reviews. His business page blew up with love and loyalty. Mildred's narrative crumbled almost overnight. But Mildred? She wasn't finished. A week later, Philip got a call from the police. Someone, guess who, had filed a report accusing him of theft by deception. Claiming he agreed to give her money and backed out. I went with him to the station. Philip was calm, respectful, even showed the officer the text messages and the $14 transfer. The officer chuckled. "So you did help her. Just not to her liking." Case closed. Dismissed as a civil dispute. I thought maybe that was the end of it. I was wrong. Because the next knock on our door wasn't a customer. It was Mildred. And this time, she looked like a ghost. Hair greasy, clothes wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. "Can I come in?" She whispered. "Please, Mom. I just want to talk." Against every ounce of better judgment, I let her in. Larry's face hardened the moment he saw her at the table. "What do you want now?" She burst into sobs, loud, shaking sobs. "I've ruined everything. I was desperate, I didn't know how to ask the right way." I stayed cold, pushing tissues toward her but nothing more. I'd seen this show before. "Why'd you file a police report against Philip?" I asked. "I was desperate," she wailed. "My ex cut me off. I'm about to be homeless." Larry's voice cut like ice. "So your solution was to try and get your son arrested?" "I wasn't trying to get him arrested." She snapped back quickly. Then her eyes shifted, calculating. She turned to Larry. Dad, you understand, don't you? You've always understood me better than Mom. And I saw it. That flicker in Larry's eyes. Doubt. Sympathy. My stomach sank. He has the money, she pressed. What's $14,000 to him? It's nothing. But it would save my life. Mildred, I said sharply. He doesn't owe you a dime. You gave him up. You rejected him. You don't get to barge back in now with your hand out. But he's my son. No, I stood, voice shaking. He's our son. We raised him. We bandaged every scrape, sat through every school play, cheered him through every heartbreak. Where were you? Her eyes darted back to Larry. Dad, please. Just talk to him for me. He'll listen to you. And to my horror, Larry faltered. Maybe we could help her. Not the full amount, but something. I froze. Larry, no. She's manipulating you. She's still our daughter, Margaret, he said, using my full name like a dagger. And what about Philip? What does that say to him? Mildred's lips curled into a triumphant smirk. Philip doesn't have to know. It can stay between us. Family helping family. I opened my mouth to fight harder when the front door opened. Philip. He froze, eyes narrowing the second he saw her at our table. What's going on here? Your mother came to apologize, Larry blurted. Mildred nodded, eager, doe-eyed. Yes, I feel awful. I just want to start over. Philip's gaze cut to me. I didn't even have to speak, he read the doubt on my face. Is that really why you're here? He asked her, voice quiet, steady. She nodded, too quickly. Of course. Why else? His eyes narrowed. Maybe, because you couldn't squeeze money out of me, so you came after them instead? And just like that, the mask dropped. The fake tears dried up, replaced with a hard, venomous glare. Well, what did you expect? You're living the high life while I suffer. Someone in this family has to step up. Philip's voice dropped, low and calm. I think you should leave now. Not until I get what I came for, she hissed. And what exactly is that? He asked. She spun to Larry like a snake. Dad was just about to help me. Weren't you, Dad? Larry stammered. I said maybe a little. And in that moment, I watched Philip's face fall. The betrayal in his eyes was like a knife straight through me. Dad, he said softly, brokenly. She's using you. Just like she tried to use me. Larry's jaw tightened, torn. I grabbed his arm. Listen to him, Larry. Please. Mildred pushed back her chair, the scrape screeching like nails on a chalkboard. Fine. Be that way. All of you. I'll figure it out myself like I always do. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the house rattled. And then silence. Heavy, crushing silence. Philip wouldn't even look at Larry. Larry stared at the floor, shame burning on his face. Finally, he whispered, I'm sorry, son. I don't know what came over me. Philip's voice was flat, hollow. She's always been able to wrap you around her finger. Then he turned and walked out. A minute later, his car started in the driveway. He didn't come home that night. And I knew, something in our family had cracked. The next few days felt like we were living inside a pressure cooker. The house was quiet but not peaceful, the kind of quiet that buzzes in your ears. Philip kept his distance, pouring himself into damage control for the shop. Mildred's edited video had already done its worst, a handful of nasty, obviously fake reviews, a couple of clients pausing service. He didn't complain, just worked longer hours and answered every message like a professional. Larry, meanwhile, was at war with himself. I'd catch him staring at his coffee like it owed him an apology. He kept muttering, what was I thinking? I told him he was human, that she'd always known how to push our buttons, but yes, I was disappointed too. After everything with Mildred all these years, how did we still get blindsided? A week later, Philip finally came for dinner. He ate, smiled a bit, but he was somewhere else, glancing at his phone between bites, the screen lighting his face with that focused blue glow. Everything okay? I asked while we cleared plates. Yeah, he said lightly. Just waiting for a call. It came during dessert. He excused himself, walked into the living room, and when he returned he wore that unreadable, calculating smile, the same one from the $14 transfer. That was Amber, he said. Everything's set for tomorrow night. Larry blinked. What's tomorrow night? Philip folded his napkin with care. I've invited Mildred to dinner. My fork clanged against the plate. You what? After everything she's done? He nodded. It's time to resolve this once and for all. I want you both there. Philip, I don't think that's. Please, Mom. Trust me. I know what I'm doing. There was something in his eyes, steady, certain, that made me swallow my protest. Against every instinct screaming no, I agreed. Larry did too, though his face looked like a man stepping off a cliff and hoping there was water underneath. The restaurant Philip picked made the last one look like a diner. Soft golden lighting. Linen tablecloths. Tables spaced for privacy or secrets. The kind of place where 4 entrees and a couple of glasses of wine cost a small mortgage payment. Mildred was already there. And she looked polished. Hair blown out. Fresh manicure. A new-looking dress that glittered when she moved. For someone about to be homeless, she looked awfully put together. Philip hugged her, and I'll admit it threw me. It threw her too, she blinked, then slipped right into character, the beaming mother reunited with her darling boy. I'm so glad you called, she gushed. I've been feeling terrible about how things went. Water under the bridge, Philip said smoothly. Let's just enjoy dinner, shall we? At first it was almost pleasant. Philip asked about her life and let her talk. Oh, she loved that. She talked and he kept her wine glass full. By the time the entrees arrived, she was on her fourth glass and loosening like a knot in warm water. So, Mildred, Philip said casually, slicing into his steak. Tell me more about this apartment you need the money for. She sighed, dreamy. It's a luxury condo with ocean views. Absolutely perfect. But the deposit is killer, he prompted. She nodded solemnly. And no savings from your marriage or previous jobs? Philip asked, innocent as air. She waved a hand. I've never been good with money. And Richard's being a jerk about the settlement. That must be tough, Philip said sympathetically. Then, light as a feather, so what's your plan if family can't help? She took a long sip and leaned in, conspiratorial. Oh, I'll figure something out. I always do. A giggle. Between you and me, I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. Like what? Philip asked, just curious enough. She smirked. Well, that police report was just the beginning. If that didn't work, I was thinking of calling some of your big clients, tell them a few sob stories about how you mistreat your poor mother. Larry's hand tightened around his fork until his knuckles went white. I felt my jaw lock. That's an interesting strategy, Philip said, perfectly calm. So the whole thing about being homeless was what? A dramatic flourish. She lifted a shoulder. Not entirely. I do need a place to stay. Just, maybe not as desperately as I made it sound. She laughed and flicked her eyes at Larry. You should have seen your dad's face when I cried at your house. He was ready to write a check on the spot. So you admit you were manipulating us? Philip asked, still casual. Oh, come on, she said, rolling her eyes. It's not manipulation. It's knowing which buttons to push. You're my son, you should want to help me. Even though you abandoned me and rejected me when I tried to reach out as a kid? Philip's tone didn't change, but I felt the weight of it land. Her face hardened. That was different. I wasn't ready to be a mother then. And now you're ready to be a mother when you need money? Don't be so dramatic, she snapped. This is how family works. You help each other. By lying and filing false police reports? I asked. She leaned back, utterly unbothered. I did what I had to do. And I'd do it again. That's just who I am. Philip smiled almost gently and reached into his pocket. He tapped a few times, then set his phone face up on the table. Thanks for clarifying, Mildred. I just wanted to make sure I understood exactly where we stand. Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean? He turned the phone so she could see the screen, a recording app, timer ticking. It had been running the entire time. The color vanished from her face. You recorded me? Yep. Every word, he said calmly, including your admission that you inflated your situation, filed a false report, and planned to contact my clients with lies if that didn't work. You can't do that, that's illegal. Actually, Philip said, voice even, in this state only one party has to consent. That would be me. He slid the phone back into his pocket and rose. I think we're done here. She looked around wildly, hunting for an exit that wasn't a door. You wouldn't use that against me. I'm your mother. No, Philip said, steady as stone. Margaret is my mother. Larry is my father. You're someone who gave birth to me and decided I didn't matter until you wanted something. He placed several crisp bills on the table. Dinner's on me. Enjoy the rest of your meal if you'd like. We're leaving. We stood. Behind us her voice followed, smaller now, fraying at the edges. Philip, wait. I'm sorry. We can work this out. He didn't look back. None of us did. In the parking lot I wrapped my arms around him. I'm so proud of you, I whispered into his shoulder. Thanks, Mom, he murmured. Then he checked his watch. But it's not over yet. Larry frowned. What do you mean? By now, Philip said. Amber's uploaded the full audio and a statement to all my business accounts. The truth's finally out there. I pulled out my phone and there it was, a clean, simple post from his business page, the full recording attached, a straightforward timeline of the last few weeks. No venom. Just facts. You planned this? I asked, stunned. He nodded. People like Mildred can't resist bragging when they think they're winning. I counted on it. We drove home in a hush, the good kind this time. I kept replaying the dinner, how he stayed calm, stayed decent, and still managed to turn the whole thing around without sinking to her level. The fallout was instant. By morning, Mildred's pages were swamped, former sympathizers backpedaling, strangers calling out the lies, fair-weather friends quietly disappearing. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. 3 days later, she walked into Philip's shop again, but the hurricane was gone. No screaming. No theatrics. Just wreckage. Hair undone, clothes rumpled, eyes washed out. I was at the front desk sorting receipts when she came in. Philip looked up from his computer and sighed. What now, Mildred? You've ruined me, she whispered, voice thin as tissue. My friends won't talk to me. I can't get a job, the recording is everywhere. I really am going to be homeless now. He studied her for a long moment. That's not my problem, he said softly. Her face twisted. How can you be so cold? I gave you life and you threw me away. You made your choices, he replied. Now you're facing the consequences. She lunged like she might slap him, but he caught her wrist midair, gentle, unshakable. Don't, he said quietly. Just don't. Whatever fire she had left sputtered out. She sagged, tears slipping down without the performance this time. What am I supposed to do now? For a heartbeat, I saw something soften in his eyes. No matter what she'd done, she was still the woman who brought him into the world, and some part of him couldn't help wanting better for her than this. Get help, he said, voice steady. Real help for whatever makes you treat people this way. Then maybe one day we try to build something. But not like this. Never like this. He released her wrist and stepped back. I'm not giving you money. I'm not letting you manipulate me or my parents anymore. This ends now. She stared at him, searching for the old cracks she used to pry open. Finding none, she turned and walked out without another word. The bell above the door jingled like a period at the end of a long, ugly sentence. Philip exhaled slowly, shoulders dropping for the first time in weeks. I slipped an arm around him. Are you okay? He nodded, a small, real smile touching his mouth. Yeah, I think I finally am. But as we stood there, the voicemail light on the shop phone began to blink. 1, 2, 3 new messages. From clients? From strangers? From her? I glanced at Philip and he glanced at me. Ready? I asked. He squared his shoulders and hit play. Silence. For almost 2 weeks after that blow-up at Philip's shop, there was nothing from Mildred. No texts. No calls. No poor me posts. I kept waiting for the next stunt, because with her there was always a next stunt, but the house stayed still. I started telling myself maybe she finally understood. Maybe the recording, the truth, the public fallout, maybe it sank in. Then I opened my email. Subject line, goodbye. My hands went cold on the mouse. I clicked with fingers that suddenly didn't feel attached to my body. The message was short, 2-3 lines about humiliation, despair, and how she couldn't do this anymore. My heart slammed so hard I felt it behind my eyes. Classic Mildred, yes. The theatrics. The timing. But what if? I called Philip before the panic could crawl up my throat. Did you see the email? I blurted the second he answered. Yeah, I saw it, he said, weary. Don't worry, Mom. She's not going to hurt herself. How can you be sure? I was already standing, keys in hand, planning the route to her last known address. He sighed. Because she posted a selfie on Instagram 10 minutes ago. Some coffee shop. Caption says, New Beginnings. I dropped back into my chair. The relief that rushed through me left me shaky, almost angry. So it's just another manipulation tactic. Exactly. She wants you to panic and reach out. Maybe soften up, maybe offer money for her fresh start after her darkest moment. He had her number memorized better than I did. What should we do? Nothing, he said. Firm. Final. Absolutely nothing. So that's what we did. No replies. No calls. Philip blocked her on everything and changed his number. Larry and I did the same. It felt brutal, but also like cutting out a tumor before it spread. Harsh medicine, necessary cure. And life resumed. Philip's business recovered, honestly it did more than recover. The way he handled everything brought out the loyal clients, and even new ones who admired his honesty. Apparently, people love a redemption arc, especially one backed by receipts. About a month after the goodbye email, I was in the produce aisle trying to choose between 2 suspiciously shiny apples when someone's cart bumped mine. Oh. I'm so sore, I looked up and froze. Margaret? He said, surprised. Richard. Mildred's ex-husband looked older, but the good kind. Clear eyes, steady posture, a life that had steadied itself after a storm. We hadn't spoken in years. What's the etiquette for running into your estranged daughter's ex-husband? I didn't have a manual handy. He spared me the awkwardness. I heard what happened with Mildred and Philip. I'm really sorry. It's not your fault, I said automatically. No, he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. But I should have warned you. When she started talking about reconnecting with Philip, I knew she was up to something. She just maxed her cards and needed a new source of cash. So she really was broke, I said, though the words tasted flat. Oh yeah, he said dryly. But not because I cut her off. The settlement was more than fair. She just burns through money like it's oxygen. We grabbed coffee after checkout, 2 old soldiers comparing scars. Richard filled in the blanks I hadn't seen, or hadn't wanted to see. The affairs. The empty joint account. The smear campaign she tried against him with lies about abuse. She can't help herself, he said, stirring his coffee in slow circles. People are resources to her, not relationships. I stared into my cup, steam fogging my glasses. I thought about the lost 20s from my purse I'd pretended not to notice. The study nights that were obviously not that, but I let them pass because I was too tired to fight. The way Larry, soft-hearted and hopeful, always bought the tears. I enabled her, I said quietly. For years. We all did, Richard said, patting my hand. But Philip didn't. Pride rose in my chest so fast it stung my eyes. No, he didn't. When I got home, I told Larry everything. He listened, jaw working, eyes tired in a way that made my heart ache. Richard says Mildred moved to Arizona, I finished. Fresh start. New people who don't know what she's like. Larry nodded, the kind of nod that looks like relief and grief holding hands. Good. Maybe she'll stay there. But of course, this is Mildred we're talking about. Maybe doesn't last. 3 months later, Philip and Amber got engaged. They planned a small party at their house, family, close friends, warm lights, the smell of something buttery in the oven. I was in the kitchen with Amber arranging little desserts, feeling light for the first time in a long time, when the doorbell rang. Philip answered. Silence. Too much silence. I peeked into the foyer and my heart sank like a stone. Mildred. Fresh hair, fresh nails, gift bag in hand, smile like a sticker, pretty and completely fake. Surprise. She sang, stepping forward. I heard my baby boy's getting married. Philip blocked the doorway with his body. How did you find out about this? How do you know where I live? She flapped a hand. Oh, I have my ways. Aren't you going to invite me in? I brought champagne. I moved toward them ready to form a wall, but Philip shot me a look. I've got it. Mildred, he said calmly. You weren't invited. Her smile trembled. But I'm your mother. Of course I should be at your engagement party. No, he repeated. You're not invited. And you're not welcome here. Her face tightened, a shadow crossing it. Is this because of that little misunderstanding? I thought we were past that. It wasn't a misunderstanding, he said, voice like granite. You tried to extort me, filed a false police report, threatened my business, and when that didn't work you sent a fake sewer slide email. We're not doing this again. For a second she looked genuinely offended. I was in a bad place. You could show a little compassion. Guests were watching now, faces peeking over shoulders, whispers collecting in corners. Amber stepped up behind Philip, brows lifted in a quiet, concerned question. What's going on? Nothing, Philip said, eyes never leaving Mildred. She was just leaving. Mildred's gaze slid to Amber and sharpened. So you're the one taking my son away. Venom, quick and ugly. He was going to help me until you turned him against me. Look at you with your perfect little. That's enough, Philip snapped, steel in his voice. Leave now or I'm calling the police. Mildred looked around, finally registering the audience. Her lips flattened. She thrust the gift bag at Philip. Fine. I just wanted to show there are no hard feelings. He peeked inside and went pale. Get out, he said, voice trembling just enough that I felt it in my bones. And don't ever contact me or my family again. She smirked like she'd scored a point. Enjoy your party, she trilled and walked off. As soon as her car pulled away, I grabbed Philip's arm. What was in the bag? He handed it over. I looked inside and my stomach turned. A baby onesie, grandma's favorite. And a note, when you have kids, I'll be part of their lives whether you like it or not. The room didn't quite recover after that. Everyone tried, laughter louder than usual, toasts more effusive, but under it was a hum of unease. Philip smiled for people, but his eyes were elsewhere. Amber squeezed my hand and whispered, that onesie felt like a threat. I know, I said. We won't let her near your future children, sweetheart. I promise. That night, after most guests had drifted home, we sat in the living room, me, Larry, Amber curled into Philip's side, trying to find a next step that wasn't made of quicksand. Restraining order? Larry offered. On what grounds? Philip asked. She skated the line, not crossed it. It felt like a threat, Amber said, quiet but steady. Philip raked a hand through his hair. I thought I'd handled this. I thought she'd finally heard me. People like Mildred don't change, I said softly. They just find new angles. We didn't solve anything concrete that night, but we decided to be vigilant. Philip installed cameras the next day. Motion alerts. Extra locks. That's what it had come to. Weeks went by. No Mildred. The wedding planning moved forward, flowers, suits, a venue for spring. For a minute, we let ourselves breathe again. Then I answered a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Margaret? A woman asked. Yes. Who's this? My name is Janice. I'm Richard's partner. Mildred's ex-husband's new person. Every muscle in my back tightened. How did you get my number? From Richard. He thought you should know. Mildred's been arrested. I sat down hard. Arrested for what? Credit card fraud. She stole Richard's card info and ran up thousands in charges. But that's not why I'm calling. A pause then, they found a notebook when they searched her place. Plans. Ways to get money from Philip. Notes on his business, his home address, Amber's work schedule. It was disturbing. Cold poured through me inch by inch. Have you told the police about her history with Philip? Richard is with them now. They're taking it seriously. With the fraud in this pattern, they're pushing for time. I thanked her, then called Philip with hands that shook again. He and Amber came right over. When I told them about the notebook, about the plan to catch Amber alone and pressure her to be a good wife who convinces her husband to help his mother, Amber went still as glass. So she's been watching us, she whispered. All this time. Philip wrapped an arm around her. It's going to be okay. She can't hurt us now. Mildred pled out. 18 months for the fraud, the stalking evidence tipping the scales even if it wasn't a separate charge. The day she was sentenced, we sat in the courtroom, me, Larry, and Philip side by side on a hard wooden bench. Mildred stared straight ahead, didn't look for us, didn't meet our eyes. Like we were strangers on a bus and not the family she'd set fire to. As they led her away, I felt a tangle of things, grief for the daughter I'd lost long ago, relief that, at least for a while, we could exhale, and a fierce gratitude for the son who protected us without losing himself. Spring came. The wedding was small and shimmering, twinkle lights in a garden, vows that made half the guests cry and the other half pretend they weren't. Amber glowed. Philip couldn't stop smiling. During the reception, he pulled me aside and pressed a small box into my hand. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a single heart charm. What's this for? I asked, tears already threatening. For being my real mom, he said simply. For loving me when she couldn't or wouldn't. I couldn't speak. I just held him, and for a moment the world narrowed to the steady beat of his heart under my cheek. Mildred served 14 months and was released early. She didn't reach out. According to Richard, through a mutual friend, she moved to Florida. Another fresh start. New people. New stage. Same script, probably. Sometimes I wonder if she thinks about what she lost. Not the money she failed to pry loose, but the relationship she could have had. The afternoons she could have spent knowing the man her son became. The seat she didn't earn at his wedding. Mostly though, I'm just grateful. Grateful that Philip didn't fold. Grateful he broke the pattern instead of repeating it. Grateful that after all that ugliness he still knows how to love. 2 years after the wedding, Amber gave birth to twins. A boy and a girl. Philip called from the hospital, voice ragged with joy. They're perfect, Mom. Absolutely perfect. When we arrived, he placed his daughter in my arms. Meet your granddaughter, Margaret, he whispered. I looked down at that tiny face, soft as a petal, mouth opening in a little dream, and something inside me expanded until it filled my whole chest. This is what family is supposed to feel like. Not manipulation. Not obligation. Not fear. Just love freely given and gratefully received. As for Mildred, she made her choices. And we made ours. But even now, when the house is quiet and the twins are asleep, I catch myself listening for the faint buzz of a phone, the ping of a message, the first ripple before the storm. Because if the past taught me anything, it's this. Peace is precious. And we'll do whatever it takes to protect it. Thanks for watching. Today's train wreck is over, but tomorrow's ride is already on track. Subscribe so you don't miss it.